trust them. I've trusted them with my life.
I don't know if I would be here today without all of their help and their support.
They were out of this world fabulous.
They treated me like I was a guest more than a patient.
The caregivers really are the true rock stars, aren't they?
Every patient deserves and should have the care that I'm getting at Summa.
I'm cancer-free because of them.
With every patient, every day, Summa Health delivers personal, life-changing care.
Well, today's a Thursday that seems like a Tuesday. And that's kind of the way it goes in these new off weeks, that you try to guess what day it is as opposed to what day it actually is, so you can get in tune with how you should be preparing for your game. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We've got a few days off, and we're had an outstanding practice day for a Thursday, but that's the day we usually have game plan in. So we still got some good hard work in this week. But coming off last week and the win, it's always nice to have a few extra days off when you win. And then to have a good win, a 1-point win over Buffalo, the way we won the game with a good last-minute stand, and then to run the clock out with our offense, both offense and defense, and to win the 21-20 ball game. It was a great feeling for our players. I'm really proud of them. And but and of course Tommy Woodson had a great day, and again we made some good things happen, and came out with a win. Real team effort, as we did enough to win offensively, enough to win defensively. And Buffalo was one of those teams like Miami that we'll talk about later that have lost a large number of games by very few points. And their season could be totally different, which is the way it is for most of us in the conference. We have those kind of games on our schedule. We've got 2 of them we won by a close margin, 1 we lost in the last minute, and it changes your odds a lot. But as I've been looking at our stats, it's funny, our team seems to show that we won't quit and we fight hard. We don't, I'm not saying we've been dominant out there, but 2 things that show the attitude of our players, I think their willingness to fight to the end and never give up, is our defense is number 1 in the conference in red zone defense, which is if you're going to fight to the very end, that's the end of the field. Everything after that is points. And they've been able to, no matter what's happened during a drive, they've done a remarkable job of keeping people out of the end zone. We had another interception in the end zone this past week, and we held them to 3 field goal attempts, which they made 2. Offensively, the one thing we lead the conference in is in third downs. And if you're trying to stay on the field, complete your third downs. The more successful you are in third downs, and we're over 50% on third downs, and that's that shows a lot of, to me, just a credit to the offense, knowing that if they can go out there and keep a series going, we're on the field one more series. But anyway, now we've got to get ready for every game becomes bigger, and so it is with Miami this week. And I'll look for questions.
What accounts for the red zone defense? Why are you so effective there?
I don't know, other than we've got a vast amount of experience coaching our guys on defense, and you win with football players, but I tell our coaches, but it's kind of like chess. Some people can move the pieces around better than others, and that's just a fact of life. And I think our kids have been really put in good position to be successful in that goal line. But I think as I introduced my opening monologue, that's one of those things when your kids fight hard, they never give up, and their back's against the wall. So there's a little bit of that attitude, I think, too. These guys are not willing to give up, not willing to say that they can't score if they don't get across that goal line. But I'm not sure any of those answers are the right answer. It's just we've just been real good at our scheme this year, and our schemes have been very effective in the red zone.
In that regard, how much confidence do you have that you can maintain that?
It's a nervous way to live. It's kind of living on the edge. It's a nervous way to live, No, we'd like to get them 3 and outs. I think I'd love to lead the league in 3 and outs. I think more than anything, except if they have, unless it was accompanied by giving up the most big plays, because then they wouldn't need but about 3. No, I think it's just we've the other side of that same coin is that, boy, if we could just get get a little bit more pressure on them early and get them off the field, The strange thing about football is if time of possession means anything, and you know who leads the conference in time of possession. Well, if you don't look, I'm not going to mention it. But if time of possession means anything, and you can keep people out of the end zone, who cares whether they run out the clock or we run out the clock, as long as they don't score. if that makes sense. I don't know if it does, but it seems to be if you had a magic wand, or you had a look at the future and you knew people were not going to score. I really don't care if they run out the clock. They take 6 minutes off the clock and we score quick, or we do. But that's just fanciful talking, I think, but it does make you wonder. But that's not the way anybody would want to do it. But I'm just saying but the main thing is we are a team that fights pretty hard, scraps, and finds a way to win some close games. And there's been years here when I first got here, we were just out. We would never be able to hold on at the end. We've had a lot of those things as we came in here and tried to build, and now we got a good chance of anybody winning at the end of a tight game.
Coach, can you talk about on the last scoring drive, you were having all sorts of troubles running the football.
Mm-hmm.
The last drive, you put Deltron in.
Right.
We talked about Deltron. When he got to the outside, it was just, there were holes there.
It's always a spark. Somebody adds a spark, and he has a little different giddy up to his step, a little different side step. He's got a little different style, and he fumbled the week before after having a real good run, and so first year guy for us, and so you're bringing him along and say, well, we still can't fumble the football, but he does have explosive plays. And so when he got in, he took the same plays and bounced outside when there was nothing there, and bounced over here. I talked against Toledo; they were making chunks while we were making pieces. He got out there and started making some bigger runs off the same plays we'd been calling. And Buffalo has been pretty sporty against the run all year, and so that was the difference. We were calling the same plays, but I think the last two drives, it was a do or die. I challenged our office. Y'all had to have it, or we're going to lose the game. You had to drive down there and score, and then you had to they had to, for a field goal to win, you had to run the clock out. And he was if you say what's the difference in our running attack, it was him, because everything else was the same.
Also, go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
Him bouncing out,
Mm-hmm.
or making something of nothing,
Right.
which was a lot of what he did.
Right.
You can't teach that. Can you?
No, you can't. You can't. It's the one position where you don't have to kind of hem and haw about who's the guy. Usually, when one of them really starts to step out, they step out. It doesn't have to be a freshman. It could be a freshman or a senior. It's the way it is in this league. I don't know if you watched the game last night with Western and Central. The running back for Central changed the game. That one that I don't think he was playing earlier or wasn't playing as much or something, but that guy went in there and changed that game around, taking plays that nobody else was doing much with and making bigger plays out of them. And I said, that's kind of what Deltron did. But no, I don't think you can, you can pick those guys out. My dad always tells the story of how the who's the little running back he played for the Falcons that he had for so many years. Warwick Dunn. Warwick Dunn was the 25th guy signed as a cornerback that they took at the last minute. All of his backs got hurt in preseason. They put him over there in preseason scrimmage, and he scored 2 times. He touched the ball, and he rushed for 1,000 yards every year and became an All-Pro. But you can't. They just step out and do it.
Let's see. Here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you work him in during the course of the game, or do you rely on the fact that at the end of the game, if you need to run timeout, is that something?
I'd like to see that every play. I think the big question is does he gain more playing time sooner? Because I think you want your best guy to run the football, and Warren Ball was that guy we were going to go to and go to a lot, and we're getting a good bit out of all of them, and Van's got some things that he does well. Manny Morgan just seems to make one big play a game or 2 big plays a game for us. They're veterans of a lot of time playing football. But when it comes to somebody that seems to make the most plays, which would say, okay, which one's going to eventually garner the most time if he can get to where he knows what he's doing, is Deltron's kind of moving into that position now.
With seeing, did you prepare for Jackson to come in, or was it?
Had no idea he was going to come in. We had no idea until, in college you don't have to name your injuries. You don't. There's nothing. It's part of the game. And so but he definitely was the veteran that ran their office. He's the one that beat us so bad the year before.
Didn't you say, I think after the game to Joe, that the play that Jordan made in the end zone, the interception, if that was a healthy Tyree Jackson, he would have run that ball in your mind?
Absolutely. If he was healthy enough, we got a mature quarterback who knew where to throw it and was comfortable under pressure. We didn't get him with his running ability, which is outstanding. And but it takes the pressure off having to play a true freshman, you know. And we did not know, but we have to prepare for it. They had a junior college guy that's been out for a while that I don't think they were listing anybody as the starter. And of course, they play the social media game like we all do. As you know, the quarterback is from Stowe.
Right.
Yeah, and we recruited as an outstanding quarterback. My wife knows his family and parents, and so.
Were you surprised also when I looked at the final stats that Hodge was held as just four total stops?
Couldn't believe it, because even then he seemed like he's always close to the ball. He's one of the finest. You know, last week y'all asked me maybe it was asked me to compare him to Khalil. And I said, well, no, that's like comparing somebody to Jatavis. But then when I went and watched, as I began to study the film, he did compare. The guy made every tackle. But I was amazed that we did make an emphasis of trying to get helmets on him, trying to get pads on him. But it was pretty amazing that he only had 4.
Would you, the last 3 games,
Mm-hmm.
the toughest part of your schedule or no?
Well, I go Penn State and Iowa State. And Troy is pretty tough part. You know, it's amazing, George, and I've said this before. We have some in this conference that just seem to be at the top right now. Toledo, you know, right there, they're at the very top. Every one of us can beat everybody else. Every one of us. I mean, we know that Miami beat Buffalo, Kent State beat Miami. You know, Central Michigan beat Ohio. Miami beat Central Michigan. It's nothing is comfortable. This isn't a conference where you got these 3 terrible teams. Everything's a battle, but I don't know whether inside of me, the next 3 are the hardest ones we got for inside of me because of everything that's out there. But the greatest thing for these players, and what we can't get anxious about, is that we have put ourselves in a position to have an exciting opportunity. And this game is all that part. Just as Miami knows if they can win out, they go to a bowl still. They were in this situation last year. And we were in the exact situation last year. Now, Tommy Woodson wasn't playing. And I think Tommy Woodson is a huge factor in, you know, I try to look at some of the things that we do well. He's like 3rd or 4th in the conference in passing efficiency. That's kind of what he is. He's a pretty efficient quarterback. And it keeps us in ball games. When we bend but don't break on defense and the running game gets kind of stagnant, he manages to keep. He had 1 bad throw, but he had 72%. And so I think that's an important factor there. But I don't know that I answered your question because the last, you start with Bowling Green. We hadn't beat since we've been here. You know, Western Michigan, Toledo, they were preseason top 2 ranked in that side. You know, and Buffalo beat us bad last year, and they've lost a lot of close games. Miami had the hottest team in the conference last year. Should have beaten Mississippi State in the bowl game. Then it goes right down. So Miami is the next opponent. They got a lot riding on it. We got a lot riding on it. And we were the end of their losing streak last year. They found a quarterback after that. And we don't know which quarterback they're going to use, so we'll be ready for whomever.
I would like to ask about the touchdown play to Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just the straight play like you've always had sometimes when you run down the sidelines, or was it just check off, or can you?
No, what happens sometimes? We were throwing to the other side. We called the play to the other side. 2 receivers over there. They were in the coverage that made those routes no good. So you always had the one-on-one back here. So he doesn't know that. He just knows that's. But he ran full speed. The guy passed interfered with it. He stayed with it and caught it, and I was so proud for him. You know, he's shared some time with some of our young, faster guys, and I was so glad for him because he's been a great team man as he's lost some of his reps. He's always played. He's always caught some passes, but he's a senior, and seniors want to contribute, and that was a huge contribution. He got a game ball for that one.
One other thing on Alvin.
Uh-huh.
What was the suspension just for the last 3 quarters, or will you have to sit out the first?
It was the 3rd play of the game, I think. So he's lost the second half. He's okay this week.
Okay.
Yeah, and neither of these. I was watching the game last night with somebody targeting, and the announcer had a hard time saying, "Well, he didn't mean to do that." Well, there was no intention of Alvin to do that twice, but somehow we've got to learn that. It's very hard when a guy catches it and is falling down. You're trying to tackle low because you have to tackle around the waist, and then as he catches it and turns to you, his head's goes down to waist high, and it's a head to head. You just got to say. shoulder tackle. You got to find a way, because he's very, very aggressive. He likes to run fast to the ball because he makes nice plays in the open field. But by running out of play, we got to learn to just keep our head out of it, because he's too good to have to sit out, and he plays too well. But it's one of those things that I think most of my players, said, fellas, just let's find a way not to do it. They're trying to protect you, and the officials already told us they're going to err in toward a targeting, because they want to protect concussion, because that's a huge issue right now, CTE and concussion. So they're trying to help players. So you guys are going to get called for targeting if you're close. So now let's find a way not to totally be coaches. Let's coach it different. Let's play the game different, and let's recognize that we're going to find a way to play. It's almost play without the helmet. So I think, and so on one hand, there was not a thing he could have. There's not. You really have to change a lot of aggressiveness, because we already know we don't want to hit the helmet. Now we got to find a way not to hit it when it moves. If you can imagine a fullback running up the middle on a short yardage and his head's down to get it, and the linebacker sticking his head in the gap, they make head contact every time. But for some reason, that's not a targeting. It's the same contact. It's the same situation, but you can't play the game and stop that, because I don't think you can call that one.
Isn't that a running play? Isn't that how that's determined?
I know that, but if we're talking about serious injury and trying to prevent it, what makes that one less likely to cause a concussion and a dangerous situation than if the runner is down the field and he spins and starts to fall down as you tackle both ways? But I'm saying is, I'm in agreement with the rule and with the officials. We've got to save our game, and the game is being threatened with the concussion thing has become a topic where young parents don't want their children playing football. I want my kid. I want to see kids in America grow up playing the game that I grew up playing, and so we go ahead.
At this point, are you worried about him acquiring a reputation?
No, I don't think. I think most coaches even saw that. I don't think you got headhunters out there anymore, because there is no the guys you love, like Jack Tatum and all the famous guys that could just, when that was allowed, that's not considered to be a positive play anymore. And somebody told me, hey, so I got an email tell that number one he's my favorite player. Please don't do that again, so I can watch him play. But he's a very aggressive player. And no, I think coaches know when you see a guy that takes cheap shakes full shots that to get away with, or they're close.
Coach, can you talk about a little bit about the depth of the program, because you brought Deltron Sands and Kevin Gladney were number 3 and number 4. Now it seems like you developed some quality depth.
If you'd have told me we'd have won a football game like that without Zach Geiser playing or Al Davis playing. You got Sean Featherstone and Jordan George moving back over to safety and playing, and even Baggett played a good bit there and had a couple of pressures. No, that's what you have to have. Last year it hurt us at depth at quarterback, and it hurt us a lot. And we've got a little more depth at quarterback if something were to happen for a series or two or a quarter or a game. But I think it's it really has shown out. That. Guys have had to step up and play.
Well, it's one thing, there's depth and there's quality depth.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you step up, and it makes a huge difference. Now, as you've looked around this season and seen teams lose 2 or 3 in a row and come back, quarterback is a different animal for almost everybody in this conference. It changes sometimes the way you play and your ability to play, and to some it doesn't, but to most people that's a unique position there. And how many reps you have to give a starter as opposed to a backup, and usually preparation. But again, we've got everybody in this league has people banged up right now, and you just got to try to find a way to people put it together. If you could stay in the hunt for the prize, the kids they see the positive side of almost everything, but you just have to do the best you can.
A couple of things. One, every coach says they need to cut down on penalties, like the 11 you had against Troy. I mean, the transformation has been
remarkable,
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 4 in the first quarter. They had the 1 personal foul, but then he had none the rest of the game after that.
All right, we emphasized it. So we have emphasized it beyond anything I've ever done in my life, because I just it's and I told you the crazy stat is teams that are really good generally lead their league in time. And I imagine you need to look at that Matt stat too. But the fact is, when you've got a lot of close games, that's a huge factor. And we can't afford to give people first downs and field position or have to make third and longs. And so we talk about every single penalty in front of the team. We talk about how we could have avoided it. and a guy stands up and we talk about it, not like we're punishing, but what could we have done to eliminate that? We had force. We had a legal procedure on the offensive lineman. We had a personal foul, unsportsmanlike that was but it was not one that quite often gets called. It was just enough. I don't know if you saw. Their guy tackled our guy pretty hard, and as our guy got up, the guy was faced into him, and he got up and his helmet popped him with his helmet, like straight up through him. It wasn't like he jumped at him, but popped him. But it was enough. That's enough, a loss of I said, you can control your temper, can't you? Because all they got us was 5-yard line, probably points to a 15-yard line, missed a field goal, probably could have cost us the game. Then we had the targeting, and the other one was one other penalty, I can't remember, but it was but I can't remember that one. But anyway, it was 5 yards. So, but anyway, like I said, we really have focused hard on it, and you know that turnover margin is a factor. Everybody agrees. I don't know that everybody agrees that that it's going to be the whole deciding factor, penalties. But to me, if you've got a team that's got to fight and scratch every week, it needs to be a factor. And so we have we've tried to make that. But we got pounded by Toledo. We had 0 penalties. They had 160 or so.
Right.
You know, if you get up 21-0, I guess it doesn't matter. But anyway, but regardless, it's a well brought up question, and you know, it's you know, and even to a coach, you take that personal. It's embarrassing. It's say, you know, whether it's right or wrong, the old saying, you get what you demand, and somewhere along the line in practice you didn't demand it or something, something like that most of the time.
You had 11 against Troy, but they had 16.
Yeah, sometimes you get them. Sometimes now we are too. It's like basketball. Sometimes you get a officiating crew that calls a tighter game, and they're just going to call a tighter game. We've had most of our penalties have been twice with the same crew. You know, and the other team had them too. You know, and so sometimes we don't do a good job adapting to the other crew. But again, but you know, if you don't penalty, if you try to do the best you can do the best. We do the best we can, and I'm not saying it can jump up and bite you easy.
So because you don't really have an off week, you know, you run it straight through. But I mean, the 2 days or whatever. Is that really
you don't take 2 more days to practice, but you take 2 more days. The coaches get to really try to figure out a way to play well. Yeah, it should. I mean, we're going to get one way or the other. We're going to get one extra day. You know, I think that. But you know, after a win, does it help you after a win to get off? So that argument has been argued for a long time. I think late in the season, if somebody told me I could have 2 extra days just to be off, I'd say, yeah, my guys are tired. You know, most football years I've ever coached, you've had 1 week off somewhere. That's the way it's always been. In the MAC, it's even been like that sometimes. But lately, it's your Saturday schedule going to your Tuesday schedule gives you 1 extra long 1 week. You know, I think I was talking to the coach at Buffalo, and he said they went from a Saturday to a Tuesday to a Wednesday to a Thursday, so they're getting 1 extra day each week. They get a little bit extra, you know, where we go to a Tuesday. So you
Coach,
go.
kind of a general question. You talked about watching the game last night. How much, as a coach, can you learn from watching a football game in the conference, or do you just watch it as a fan? Or
I think the more you, and of course I was raised in Morgantown, 2.5, 3 hours away. But most of my ball, I left there a long time ago. The more you're up here and the more you understand the MAC, so many coaches that coach in the MAC, that played in the MAC, this game is a cold, rainy conference schedule in late October, November. I mean, there are days that it's going to rain and be cold, and we've had it every year we've been here. And you better decide what you're going to do or how you're going to do it that will have a plan for windy, cold, and rainy weather. And you can forget about some of that if you get down south too long, you know, or you're not exposed to the way the wind and the cold and the rain affects you mentally preparing for practice, getting your kids wanting, because here you got this beautiful indoor facility. Why don't just practice inside? They're focused on practice. They don't have any distractions. But no, we got to get out in the weather and play. So we're out there today. We might you might get 1 day. I don't think the Green Bay Packers practice every single practice day out in the cold. Just make sure you better get a couple of them, that's for sure, because you're going to play the game. You're going to play the game in it. But I think from that game, that's the biggest thing you see. And like I told my players, one, these games aren't over. You don't ever think you got something that somebody's going to give you something. You got to take it. You got to take it, because I think it was 28-14, close to the fourth quarter. Yeah, fourth quarter, and it was like there's no way either team's going to score a lot of points. But it's amazing how much throwing is going on in that severe type of rain. That's the artificial turf situation there. That's changed. That's why rain doesn't change a lot of the throwing. But I saw a lot more short yardage throwing than I've ever seen though.